Hey everybody, Bill Treadway here. Just wanted to take a couple minutes and talk to you tonight about Bitcoin. Cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, digital assets, whatever you may call it, whatever you may know it by, whatever the term is that you use or you've heard people use. My question tonight, what's the hoopla about Bitcoin? What is all the hype? What is all the hoopla? What is all the rave? What is all the commotion that's going on around Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and digital assets? Well, there's a lot that's going on right now. There are so many things going on in the world of finances. This world is changing quickly if you haven't taken notice of it. And the digital asset space, as I call it, is growing and it's increasing, and the companies that are involved in the digital asset space are they're developing their products to come into the digital age, to take into the next realm, into the next big move. The last big move we saw was the internet, where we had we had an influx of information come in, and that was a value of information. But now we're getting ready to see a value of money, and we're getting to see a change in the monetary system that's going on. I don't know if you're aware of the IMF and the central banks and all the things that go on with that, but there are talks going on with countries and with governments and with the IMF and with central banks and with local banks and businesses and money transfer companies and things of that nature in the financial space that are going on day by day that we don't even realize because we don't really hear very much about it. But if you listen to any kind of financial stations, radio stations, TV, internet, whatever it may be, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your news from, wherever you keep up with the latest and greatest, if you haven't been keeping an ear to the ground as far as finances, I'll tell you what, the digital asset space is an interesting space, and here's why. Digital assets are a peer-to-peer system of purchasing goods or sending money from one person or business to another, and this can be done quickly, efficiently, and inexpensively, which is something that the present banking system does not allow us to do. I know here in the U.S., the banking system is very laden with expenses, very laden with a you need me type of mentality, where the banks tell us in their advertisements that they're here for we the customers, we the people, but in reality they're there for themselves, because all the laws that are made, all the things that are done behind closed doors, all the deals that are made, all the special interest groups in DC that are coming to the government and looking to get their lobbyists before the government officials and getting their laws passed are all to make the banking system stronger and bigger and greater and deeper and more necessary. But the great thing about digital assets is not only is it a peer-to-peer system for purchasing goods and sending money, it takes the middleman out of the equation, really. When you think about it, the blockchain that is one of the foundations for Bitcoin and digital assets is the fact that if you were to make a purchase or transaction with, say, Amazon, and you did it on the blockchain, you would be able to go onto the blockchain if you knew the address that was being used to make those purchases, and you would be able to see in a public ledger what was done, where someone sent their money to Amazon and what they sent it for. You wouldn't be able to see the account numbers or anything like that, but you would be able to see the general information there of what was done, when it was done, who it was done with, and the transaction that happened. Now, the interesting thing about digital assets is that they bring true transparency to a broken system of money. Right now, there are banking institutions, there are retirement institutions such as Fidelity and TD Ameritrade and JP Morgan and companies like that. They really don't like the whole idea of the transparency thing, and digital assets really fixing the broken system of money so that they are going to be exposed for the things that they do when and if they do these underhanded things. If you've been listening to anything about digital assets over the last year, 2 or 3 years, you would have heard in the mainstream media, you would have heard the headlines, especially from like Jamie Dimon and guys like that, would be telling you, oh no, Bitcoin's a farce, it's fake, it's, it's a fraud. Yeah, it's for money launderers and thieves and terrorists. But at the same time, they're telling you that on the TV and on the internet. They are behind the scenes purchasing digital assets to be able to have the liquidity they need and have the ability to continue to pull the purse strings, so to speak, of their customers and to be able to hold sway in the marketplace. But the whole thing is with digital assets that what they do is they free we the people from the clutches of our government and the banking system. You may ask, how is that? Well, they do it in this way. Digital assets have a limited supply and they can't be printed out of thin air like the fiat currency can right now. Anytime that there is a quote-unquote crisis, refer back to 2007, 2008, when the U.S. government came to, when the banking system and the government came to Congress and they said, we need to have these trillions and trillions of dollars to be able to make sure that certain companies out there in the business world end up making it through this hard time. And what they did was they ended up printing money out of nothing that really has no value except what people put on it or what people perceive it to have. And then they ended up giving it to their buddies and their friends. The banks got the money and then they were told that they were supposed to lend it out, but the banks sat on it. And when they would lend it out, they would lend it out with, gaining interest, but they would not invest it or do any of those kind of things. They basically kept it in their coffers. And then they gave the people on Wall Street big bonuses, people who drove companies into the dirt. Now, the whole thing with digital assets and the whole hoopla around it is that the digital assets are freeing us from that. They are giving people the ability to do their banking and to conduct their money the way that they want to do it. The great thing about technology right now with digital assets, with Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, the blockchain, all that, is the fact that all you need nowadays is just a cell phone with an app. And you can do your banking anywhere. There are countries that have citizens who have not been able to bank properly and have basically been robbed because for them to get to a bank is almost impossible, number one. And number two, when they do get to a bank, the bank knows they need their money and they need to use the system that's broken. And so they charge them exorbitant amounts of money and they continue to pillage the people. But now with blockchain, with Bitcoin, with digital assets, all a person needs is a cell phone and their app and a exchange to be able to put their money into and take their fiat currency and put it into digital assets, and then they're able to take those digital assets and to move them around and to purchase things as they see fit. So there are sectors of this world now that are coming to there are people who have never had the ability to bank and have always had to hold on to their fiat currency and to hide it and to do the best they could to keep it and to protect it. But now with digital assets, all they have to do is get into an exchange and purchase the digital asset, and then they can take that digital asset and buy almost anything they want. There are companies that are coming online. There are companies that already have platforms in line that are ready to go with digital assets. As a matter of fact, starting tomorrow, May 1st, the NASDAQ, I believe it is opening up a sector of their platform for digital assets starting tomorrow, May 1st. And you're going to start to see the dominoes fall with that because nobody wants to be left in the dust and nobody wants to lose any market share to their competition. So NASDAQ is really kind of cutting edge there. There are 150 endowments in the United States, and 141 of the 150 endowments that are in the United States right now have purchased cryptocurrency. They have purchased all kinds of things. They have purchased large amounts of one of the digital assets that is called XRP, which is a product that a company called Ripple puts out that works with cross-border payments. That is their main focus with that product, is to do cross-border payments. And with those, there are institutions who have purchased thousands, billions of dollars worth of XRP. And XRP is in limited supply. So as XRP or Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecoin or any of those end up going and getting used by people, getting purchased by people, getting purchased by these endowments and by companies and banks and institutions and all, the more that these banks purchase these for liquidity so that they can move transactions back and forth, the supply is going to be harder and harder to get. There are going to be people who lose their ability to get into their accounts because they've lost their what we call keys to be able to get into their accounts. And once you lose your keys for your account, you're basically up the creek. You have almost no recourse. There are a few things coming out now after 12, 14, 15 years that will allow a person to be able to recover their keys for their account and to continue to work with it. But generally, if you misplace your keys or lose them or whatever, you're up the creek. But even in the midst of all that, there are such great things going on in the digital asset space with cryptocurrency, with Bitcoin, with all these things and all these different companies and entities that it is definitely worth your time to look into cryptocurrency, digital assets, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ripple, XRP, Ethereum, any of those things that are part of the digital asset space. There are so many things that are being that are in the works right now by so many companies. Decentralized internet, so that you just purchase a box from this company, you plug it in, you put it in your house. You don't even need a server anymore. You don't even need a Spectrum or a Windstream or a Yahoo server anymore to give you the service. It comes right to your house through this box, and that company is has already shipped out their first wave of these boxes to customers who pre-ordered them, and the future looks really great for this company. So there's a lot of things going on and happening. There are companies out there that are in the space to take up the YouTube and the Facebook space, because the tight reins that those guys keep on that, and the fact that they have such a sway one way or the other, that causes them to delete pages and to not allow people to put certain things on the Facebook or YouTube pages that someone may want to post. They this company that is called has got a product called DLive. They are actually in the market to be able to allow a decentralized place where you can put out your content, and you would be free to put out there what is really on your mind and on your heart. I'm sure they're going to have certain regulations that go with that, certain rules, certain guidelines, certain things that will keep the area free for everybody, so that not everybody feels restricted or confined or offended. But they're at the same time, they're going to probably keep the thing very free, very fluid, very open. That's another aspect of digital assets that's going on. And to just wrap this up, if you haven't looked at digital assets, if you haven't considered Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or any of the terms that you've heard, or any of the coins or tokens or companies or any of the entities that are out there in the digital asset space, I encourage you to take a look at it. And while you're at it, if you want information, just send me an email, send me a text, send me a comment, and I can send you information on it, and we can go from there. Take care and have a good night.